Before we get into this video, I do want to mention my other channel, Lightbox Cafe. The link to it in the description down below. I basically do a podcast over there with a couple of friends where we cover anime, video games, and film, and we also do Let's Plays over there. So if you want to subscribe over there, the link is in the description. Thank you so much, and here's the video. Hello everyone, this is Griffin Station, back here with another Kill the Game If video, and in this video we are covering not only patch 1.03, but 1.10 as well. Now we know that we just got Double DTR on PS4 in Steam, and Arc System Works has also released the patch notes finally in English for 1.03. They weren't as long as I was expecting them to be, and so I am deciding to do a video for you all now. So first off, we have some general changes. They added anyone to search filters to rank matches. I didn't actually find this anyone filter, but I believe it says any skill level. I'm pretty sure that's the new addition. They also tweaked the amount of gallery points GP earned through the game modes. It seems like we're getting more GP, which is always a great thing. I mean, I already have most of the stuff unlocked, but I would hate for them anyways to reduce the amount of GP, because I feel like the amount of GP that we were getting wasn't a gigantic amount. And then after finally, under general, we have adjusted the behavior for random stage selection during free battle for rematches. And this wasn't something that I noticed initially, but I did test it with something else. So first off, I tested it going with a retry. You do not get a new stage when you retry during free battles, but you do in fact get a new stage, or at least the possibility of a new stage during rematches. So it can truly be a rematch on a new stage if you want it completely random. That's your choice. As far as the AI, they tweaked the AI for all characters, tweaked enemy AI in story mode, and then also universal balance changes, fixed instances where the enemy is unable to burst away for prolonged periods of time after activating a death blow, added a cancel limit to each stage for characters with moves that can activate in midair, introduced a limit value mechanic to the game's stats. Limit values are stored and accumulated when a player receives combo hits from an opponent continuously, and the value is reset when the combo ends. As the value limit accumulates, the effects are as follows. First phase, receiver gains SP gauge 50% faster. Second phase, attackers' combos routes automatically shift to end focus combo routes. And third phase is except for attacks that can't be bursted away, the receiver can recover faster from the hits. Then the other two universal balance changes. At the end of Bloody Valor, a new setting to allow the loser's side to recover immediately is introduced, and also fixed a bug where the hit stop of armored attacks do not get carried out correctly when the armored attack hits. At the same time, the player receives an attack to be absorbed by the armor. That's a really interesting interaction, but I'm glad that they fixed that bug. And as far as recovering after a Bloody Valor, it will make it so the person that was just hit by a Bloody Valor can get back up and back into the match, maybe do a counter attack. Now getting into the specific characters, we first have Ryuko Matoi Single Blade, which the 4 changes are added a combo route that allows her to cancel long-range attacks into short-range attacks and ends with a grounded short-ranged finisher. This actually looks really nice and really well polished. I really like this addition. We also have an increased speed of her jumps and steps from Bloody Valor level 1 and above, increased speed of shockwave of her dash long-range attacks and long-range death blows, and decreased her overall damage output when Bloody Valor is level 0, and increased her decapitation action damage at Bloody Valor level 1 and above. Overall, they're just trying to balance it. It doesn't seem like they're necessarily trying to nerf her or buff her, but just trying to put her into a better place. Next, we have Satsuki Cutie Single Blade. 4 changes that they made were 1. Decreased range of her long-ranged attacks. It seems like a sort of big nerf, but I'm okay with it as a Satsuki player. Added a combo route that allows her to cancel long-range attacks into short-range attacks and combos into grounded short-range attacks. Adjusted her combo actions from short-range attacks to long-range attacks or break attacks, and long-range attacks into short-range attacks and break attacks. And then we also have increased her overall short-range attack damage output. I'm glad that they're giving her a buff in terms of short-range damage, considering they're nerfing her long-range, because her long-range was a little bit OP in comparison to what her short-range damage was, and so I feel as though this is a good balance. Uragan'mcgorry is next, and his first changes increase the damage absorption rate of the Shackle Regalia, so Gamagori takes less damage. I am really happy about this, because whenever I tried to play Gamagori, I would usually take a lot of damage, even when in Shackle Regalia, and so I feel as though that should be a more defensive guarding move, because it is technically, and although you are supposed to be taking damage, I am glad that he is getting a damage reduction in that, so he can actually survive the match. We also have when Bloody Vour at level 0, if Shackle Regalia is broken by a break attack, introduced a penalty to the damage charge gauge Gamagori has. This is a really intriguing change, but I think it makes sense. In the left, we also have upon absorbing hits with the Shackle Regalia, if Gamagori immediately activates the short-range death blow without deactivating the Shackle Regalia, we will automatically shift to the whip-throwing finisher regardless of the DC gauge. And so, I mean, it sort of makes sense. I mean, when you immediately activate Shackle Regalia, it does start giving you some damage charged in your gauge, and so having it automatically go to the whip animation, even if you have 0%, would make sense, because it just means it would just be a fraction of a millisecond before he would actually get into that animation. And so it sort of rewards the player for getting ready to do this damage charge gauge movement with the Shackle Regalia. And then finally, we also have adjusted the cancel route for the short-ranged attacks to break attacks. Uzu Sanageyama is right after Uragan'mcgorry, and his first changes generally decreased all of his SP gauge increments for normal hits, receiving hits, and guarding hits. This is basically most of the SP gaining that you can get in this game, but they did add something in this next section which states, introduced a just guard mechanic that allows him to gain more SP gauge and reduce block stun for blocking at the immediate moment of opponent's non-death blow attacks. So it did introduce a just guard mechanic. I'm actually surprised they're introducing a mechanic like this in a patch, but I think it probably is best, especially if they're already reducing the rest of his SP gains, because this is basically the only way you can really expect to gain a lot of SP in a short amount of time with Sanageyama. Then we have adjusted combo routes for attacks after a successful just guard and after a break attack, so that is good to hear. They're adjusting it, probably making it better, I assume, or maybe just making it more balanced, I don't know. And lastly, putting more focus into counter hit damage amplification and reduced his other overall damage output. So he is still really beginner friendly, but I do feel as though they're trying to make it so he's not just raw damage. You have to be a bit more clever with him than initially expected with a character like Sanageyama. Uragan'mcgorry has 4 changes as well. I believe all the characters actually have 4 changes. And her first changes now gains SP gauge when excessive reverb bullets gets diminished upon newly set reverb bullets. We also then, when using break death blow, SP gauge now recovers when reverb bullets are absorbed by Jakuzure. Then we also have increased range of ground dash second charging phase long ranged attack. And then after finally, we also have decreased all break attack damage output except for break death blow. And so it seems like that they're actually generally buffing her, which I am a fan of. She also seems pretty fast, and I feel as though she's actually probably viable now if you want to play as No-Known. I really like how she felt in this test that I did from this patch. So let me know what you guys think about No-Known in the comments, because I really think that they did a great job with her in this new patch. Following is Inamuta, which has decreased range of the long-range attack cubes, but removed penalty of his attacks that relied on his moving distance. So, I see this as pretty sort of sizable nerf. His long-range attacks are the mainstay of his moveset, so having a range to it is a little bit strange to me, but I think that this is just overall a nerf because he could be abused in some instances. We then also have at Bloody Valor level 0, each increase in the analysis gauge now requires 2 cubes. This is also another nerf. I'm really curious if he was just super OP, if all the reports were saying that he was pretty broken. I mean, I had trouble playing against him, but I don't know if that's just because I sucked at the game or whatever, or didn't know how to play against him. But it looks like that they're nerfing him. Generally increased all parameters of his camouflage attacks. That's pretty good. Camouflage attack is pretty skillful and you have to be skillful to use it, but I don't think increasing this necessarily offsets the previous nerfs, and we also have generally increased all of his SP gauge gains when receiving or blocking attacks. So basically he has to be attacking the opponent or receiving attacks to get greater SP. This is also a buff, but I feel overall Inamuta was nerfed. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about Inamuta's state right now from the previous patch to now. We then also have Ryuga Kiryuin, and it specifies dress still, which I'm really curious. It doesn't do that for Nui Harime in the next character that we're going to be looking at. So I'm wondering if in a future update we're going to be getting another version of Ryuga. But anyways, for the first one, we have generally increased her speed by strengthening her movement speed and reducing her attack with recoveries. This is actually a really great change that I don't see a lot of games actually do. She is a really slow character, and she was extraordinarily slow, especially at the launch of the game. And so I am glad that instead of just increasing her speed and not knowing what to do with her, they're increasing their speed, but they're making it so she takes longer to recover from her attacks. And so if you miss your attack, you can easily be punished. Yet you can still get to the actual opponent. I am really happy about this change with Ryuga. We also adjusted the timing of the laser beams from her aerial break attacks. Also, the attack now hits airborne opponents. I'm actually surprised that this is something that didn't happen before, but I guess it is something that was in there. Her laser beams, I guess, didn't hit airborne opponents. I didn't notice this, but that's pretty big. And then we also have ground long-range charge attacks, now pulls nearby enemies in. The long-range attack takes so long to pull off, I don't necessarily see this making it any stronger, but let's say the opponent is on the other side of the stage and doesn't want to use long-range attacks, well then you can use this long-range attack and we'll pull them in towards the attack, I assume. Doesn't necessarily specify, and I couldn't necessarily get a for sure test when I was trying to record it. And finally, generally decreased all the SP gauge gains when receiving or blocking attacks. So they're overall nerfing her SP gains, but I feel as though the movement speed buff is enough to balance Ryuga out. Nui Harime then also has changes with added hitboxes for certain clones generated by specific long-range attacks. I noticed this immediately when I tried her out, and I like the change. I think it's probably necessary. Next one added off-the-ground properties for both ground and aerial break attacks. I didn't realize there weren't off-the-ground properties, but this is a good addition. I'm glad that they added this. Increased her aerial movement capabilities. That's always good. I feel as though she was a bit, I don't want to say floaty, but she was a bit slow and stuff in the air, so I like how she moves in the air now. And finally, generally increased all of her SP gauge gains when receiving or blocking attacks, so that's an overall buff. They did nerf some of her, clones, and also, but overall, it's a pretty big buff, I believe, for Nui. Then we have the dual-wield versions of Ryuko and Satsuki. First, we're going to go with Ryuko, which increased attack prorations for her decapitation actions in a combo route when Bloody Valor is at level 0. I found this interesting in combination with the next one, which has introduced new combo routes when Bloody Valor is at level 1 or above that incorporates her finishing a combo without changing the blade to scissors form with a neutral finish and her horizontal finishers. And I found this really intriguing. They just introduced new combo routes. I'm all for that. That was really cool. And I'm glad that they added that. I really liked these new finishers as well when I tried them out. We also then have a follow-up to her attack after break death blow finisher. That's pretty cool. And then after, they do cost 25% of the SP gauge, so you can only do it 2 more times since it will take up 50% of your SP gauge to do it the first time, then after 25% the following time, after the last 25% for a second follow-up attack. I do like all of these changes to Ryuko. And then finally we have Satsuki's dual wield, which changed the trajectory of her aerial long-ranged attacks. It was a pretty intriguing change, but overall not a gigantic change. We also have generally increased her counter hit recoveries of her short-range attacks when Bloody Valor is at level 0. It wasn't that big of a difference I felt when I went from Valor level 0 to level 1. But you can let me know how you guys felt it was in the comment section down below. As I said, it didn't really feel that much of a difference between level 0 and level 1. We have adjusted various attack cancel routes into break attacks. I actually really loved all of them. I doubt I even found all of them, but the ones that I did play through, they did feel really nice. And lastly, reduced speed of canceling ground long-range attacks into short-range attacks when Bloody Valor is at level 0. These are all the changes that we have, at least according to Arc System Works' translated version of the 1.03 patch notes. We then also have patch 1.10, but from my understanding, patch 1.10 doesn't have any balance changes or anything like that. It only changed the state of the game, which allowed people to play as the double naked DTR. So if you have patch 1.10, which I assume I do, I never saw it even download on my PS4, you have the double naked DTR. That's the only thing it changed between patch 1.3 and 1.10. So if you got 1.03 and were wondering what balance changes there were between 1.03 and 1.10, it doesn't look like that there are any, but that's okay. I really like how the state of the game is right now in 1.03. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If there are actual patch notes or any changes between 1.03 and 1.10, please let me know. I would love to be informed about that, and after I'll inform all of you in a future video on it. And if you found this video enjoyable or informative, please leave a like. It'd be greatly appreciated. If you want to see more Kill the Game If content on this channel, as well as covering other anime games and fighting games, make sure to subscribe. Also, make sure to follow over on my Twitch and Twitter. I have the links to both of those in the description down below. And with that said, thank you so much for watching this video, and I will catch you all in the next one. Bye!